Hello all, I hope you are all well in these extraordinary times. I would like to welcome you to the Fintech Finance Virtual Arena where we're hosting you all today. In this special arena, we're going to be doing a bit of a deep dive and looking at free2. Joining me today, I've got the absolute pleasure to have the CEO and founder of free2, Paul Lindsay. How are you doing today, Paul? How's London? Busy?
I'm not in London.
Oh, whereabouts are you?
Because it's non-essential. I can work from home, so I'm working from home.
Oh, excellent. Well, I know very little about free2, probably because you're launching next month in June, so I haven't had a chance to kind of see or battle test it. But I want to start at the very beginning. What was the moment where you discovered, hang on a second, there's a big gap in the market here. There's a big problem that can be solved. Was there any particular aha moment where you not came up with free2, but identified, well, there's a big gap in the market here we can fix?
Yes, I mean, it was an interesting story. And I was listening to the radio one day, and the then Chancellor, was announcing proposed new legislation to allow people that had bought annuities in the UK to, prior to pensions freedom, to be able to potentially sell the benefit of that income into a cash lump sum. And what was interesting, that 43% of those 5 million people that had bought them didn't want to buy it in the first place. It was just something you had to do at that time. And that had, just to put some sort of financial perspective around that, that has a sort of annuity capital value of around 170 billion. So it's a large sum of money. And well, actually, that's
170 billion.
Yeah, 170 billion. I thought, actually, how is the industry going to do that? And I've been working in the financial services and fintech industry for a long time, 1986. I thought, actually, there's no business processes to be able to do that, and it doesn't exist. So I went along and talked to the Treasury, and they explained what they were trying to do. And to cut a long story short, we went away and we created a platform that would allow the trading auction of these annuities to enable the consumer to do it. Fast forward, change of Chancellor, and the new Chancellor came in and decided that they were not going to implement new legislation for a while, and it was put on pause. But what was very interesting is actually the huge consumer demand. And we thought, well, actually, if people want to generate cash lump sum, there must be a better way of doing it than actually selling the benefits of an income annuity, which would have been expensive, discounting and tax implications. Why don't we just lend them the money? Why don't people just lend them the money against that retirement income for annuity that they don't need? And then we started looking into it and actually realised that in the UK, if you're over 55 and you want to borrow larger sums of money unsecured, it's extremely difficult to do so, particularly if it's over longer terms. And we tried to find out why that was. And we went away and talked to a few lenders. And the main reason is that the lenders are, they lend against an existing origination process that is not geared to deal with people over 55 who are categorized as vulnerable customers. And they considered reputation risk as a key concern, and potential death of people they lend money to as a key issue. And that's why there was that's why the consumers are underserved in this sector. So we thought, actually, there's a better way of dealing with this. Rather than considering reputation risk and vulnerability as an afterthought to origination process, why don't we create a brand new origination process that's never existed before, that is built using technology around vulnerable customers and managing reputation risk. And that was the start of our journey.
Do you know what I absolutely I love about this industry? I love that there are so many things which are that way because it's always been done that way.
Exactly.
And then there's organizations like yourselves that go, hang on a second. Like I wasn't even aware of any of this, but then looking and thinking, hang on a second, let's take a step back. Why is it like this? All right, we can make it better. That's That's phenomenal. I mean, that's entrepreneurship.
It's trying to fix problems that exist in the market and to deliver better products and services to consumers. You're over, when you're over 55, you're stereotyped as getting over the hill, particularly in marketing materials. You look at Saga, and reaching that age where you get your Saga magazine, everyone thinks is horrendous. But actually, if you're over 55, in your 60s, you feel just as young as you ever did. We want to do more, see more, and do more with our life. And I don't think financial services organisations in general have kept pace with the changing needs of that demographic.
Absolutely. Well, I always find this quite interesting. Why do you think that this gap in the market hasn't been plugged before?
Well, as I said, because I think typically lenders have got a defined origination process where they underwrite, in this case for loans, around a process defined by the FCA, which is not designed to deal with vulnerable customers. And because it's not designed to deal with them, they just shy away from it. And also, a lot of lenders in this market prefer to go down the secured route, particularly down equity release, for example. And actually, consumers having spent a long time paying off the mortgage, the concept of having another mortgage is actually quite a big psychological barrier to go through.
Absolutely. Well, okay, so we've got the gap in the market. Can you tell me a little bit about last week's news and what that means for you?
Well, look, entering into the financial services market, heavy regulated market with a technology platform in a new market that hasn't yet to be proven, is an extremely difficult thing to achieve, and it's taken us some years to get to this point. I think last week's announcement is a testament to the market opportunity and the size of that opportunity, and the fact that we've got two large institutional partners that share that excitement of this new market and are prepared to support us.
Absolutely. It was NatWest funding, wasn't it, as well?
Yes, NatWest Markets. Yes.
Okay, so we have the niche, we have the funding, we have the problem to solve. What's next? How are we actually going to actively bring this? How are we actively going to solve this problem in the market?
Well, we're going to launch next month, and we will be introducing our first product, first of many products. And this product will provide the ability for people over 55 up to the age of 70 to going through an online process to be able to secure amounts up to £150,000 up to 20 years to repay. And if they want a large cash lump sum, it's a very good option to pursue.
Excellent. I mean, it seems very, very academic. Looking again at the kind of sort of customer base, what's some of the motivation behind that? What is it enabling people to do to be able to take out that cash? Like, is it, especially in the current climate, is that more about helping family members, or is it, you know what, I'm going to buy a boat?
Well, there are lots of good reasons that people require a lump sum. It could be to assist your family to get onto the property ladder, for example. It could be to pay for your daughter's wedding. In this particular unfortunate world we find ourselves in, there's actually much more pressure now on the bank of mum and dad to help siblings, and a cash lump sum is quite useful.
Absolutely. Well, I want to talk a little bit around technology, because of course there's lots of regulation attached to this, and you need the technology to help enable all of your employees. What's the strategy with the tech stack? How are you looking to kind of slot into this ecosystem to play with others?
So, I mean, we've developed a new business process, first of all, to originate and underwrite to our customers. And we've built a automated platform which is basically powered by a decision engine. And what it basically does is it's a paperless process, and it assesses the customer's affordability to fund a loan. So we go through quite extensive steps, more akin to a mortgage application process, to ensure they have the assets and the income and the spare income out of their guaranteed pension income to be able to fund a loan. The next thing we do, which is the next part of the process, again, which is completely unique, is that we have a mandated telephone call, and just to check that the consumer understands what they're about to enter into. Now, this telephone call is powered by a set of questions which are asked by a human, but are generated by our decision engine. And we've been working with a university for some years who specialise, the psychology department of a particular university, who specialise in vulnerable customers. And we've developed a process for generating sets of questions, depending on how you answer them, to assess someone's cognitive status, the level of cognitive status they have, or potentially if they've been coerced, or potentially any fraudulent activity that's being carried out as part of our overall underwriting process. This is unique, no one else does it, and I think it'll set a new gold standard for dealing with vulnerable customers.
Sure, that's I've never heard of doing that before. That's actually, so obviously the questions are asked by a human, but they're generated through the university study, so they're kind of automated questions to kind of gauge. Generated
by the decision engine on the platform.
That's very unique.
It is unique.
Excellent. What it is unique. Excellent. Okay, well that's and in terms of the overarching kind of customer experience, I mean, traditionally, and this is very cliche, older customers, again, it's very cliche, older customers love a branch. They love being able to speak to people, not so keen on the apps. Again, I'm going through all the cliches. What's going to be your kind of channel approach with customers? Is it going to be mostly on the phone, mostly online?
So, I mean, firstly, I think your view of people over 55 wanted to go in the branch. Unfortunately, I'm in one of those categories. I don't get a branch, and I use technology all the time. I mean, actually, in our demographic, 96% of our age demographic use online banking. So, don't forget, we grew up with the birth of the internet. So, I think technology is fine. The people are well used to using it online. It will be an online-based application. And it will eventually be distributed through independent financial advisors as part of their inheritance tax planning processes. But it's basically an online process, and they can interact with us anytime by email or by telephone call if they want to ask questions about any aspect of the process. But as I say, every consumer has a sort of 10-minute telephone call with us at the end of the process before we approve underwriting in any event. So it's a bit of a combination of human contact, which is important, as well as technology, which makes it efficient and fast and quick.
Absolutely. Well, with that in mind, what is the Moonshot? What's the potential here? Where can we see this going?
Well, I mean, there are lots of financial products that are available to other people under 55 that are not available to over 55-year-olds, and for the same sorts of reasons that we discussed earlier. Financial institutions are not thinking laterally about people in this age demographic and how to design a new process to be able to support them. So we will develop a range of products over a period of time that are designed specifically and only for our age demographic. Our first product is unsecured loan. That market alone, we estimate to be worth about 50 billion in the UK. which represents a target demographic to us is about 7.5 million consumers. This is not a product for everyone. It's a sort of relative niche product, a subset of the retirement market, but still a very significant opportunity for us.
So with over 55s be able to effectively have access to cash, what do you think the knock-on effect is going to be for the economy as a whole? Do you think there's going to be a lot more spending?
Well, I don't think we're encouraging people to spend for the sake of spending. We're targeting people that are financially savvy. So if they have a particular financial requirement for a lump sum as part of their financial planning process, we're just providing more choice than exists today. And a lot of the choice for larger amounts of money is only secured down the equity release route, which doesn't suit many people. So, for example, there's a large number of consumers who took out interest-only mortgages. They have to be repaid by the age of 65. Some people don't have the cash to be able to repay them, and sometimes the only option is to roll over into another type of secured product. If they've got lots of pension income, it's another alternative way of paying that off. So it's all about giving people more choices in considered decisions.
Absolutely. Now, of course, we are. I mean, the reason we're doing it via Zoom is because we are in the middle of a pandemic. How has the ongoing pandemic affected your customers as a whole, but also your view in terms of this offering?
Well, look, the pandemic is clearly a global disaster, and the economic ramifications alone are huge, and we still are just scratching the surface to understand that. But one thing is for sure is there will be increased pressure on the bank of mum and dad to support their family. At least the bank of mum and dad are in retirement. They have guaranteed pension income, so they're not in the risk of losing the job. Generally fit and healthy and financially secure, so they are in a good position to be able to utilise some of their pension income, if required, to be able to support as an alternative some of their siblings.
The last thing I want to ask, I always love asking this. So Atom Bank up in Leeds has will.i.am as its face. Klarna has in the US as Snoop Dogg. So if free2 is to be personified by a musician, who would it be?
That's an interesting question. I'd say Little Richard, who's just unfortunately recently died, because he's a legend and pioneer that brought the rock into rock and roll. And we aim to create innovation and change to benefit our demographic.